The peasant wedding looks like a celebration, a warm moment in a crowded barn full of laughter and noise. But Bruegel painted it during a harsh, hungry period in European history. When you look closely, you can feel that joy is being held together by the thinnest possible thread. Pieter Bruegel the Elder painted ordinary people at a time when they were never the subject of art. His peasant wedding is one of the most famous examples of this shift. For Bruegel, and for the people of 16th century Flanders, a wedding like this was more than a party. It was a rare moment of abundance in a world defined by hunger, hard labor, and instability. Like much of Bruegel's work, it is beauty and melancholy fused together. But it is also filled with mysteries. Who belongs this foot to? And why does the bride sit alone, without her husband? Let's take a closer look, and we'll start by exploring Bruegel's world. Bruegel's early life is largely unknown. He was probably born around 1525 near Breda, a city and a region caught between competing powers. As a young man, he traveled to Italy and then settled in Antwerp, then the economic center of Northern Europe. Antwerp was a global hub of trade, ideas, and crucially, printing. And it was as a draftsman for a printer that Bruegel first learned how to communicate visually to a mass audience. Printmaking shaped his entire career. It taught him how to simplify a complex world into a single, compelling image, how to make a scene readable at a glance, even when hundreds of details were contained within it. This skill would become essential in the Peasant Wedding, a painting that is crowded, chaotic, and yet astonishingly clear. Bruegel's era was one of many tragedies. The Little Ice Age brought crop failures and harsh winters. At the same time, Protestant reformers were challenging Catholic rule. Printing spread information faster than ever before, destabilizing old hierarchies. Religious images were attacked, destroyed, and burned during waves of iconoclasm. Churches stopped commissioning large altarpieces. As a result, artists turned to landscapes, still lifes, and scenes of everyday life. Bruegel was at the forefront of this transformation. He painted not saints or kings, but people like those seen here, peasants trying to carve out moments of joy in difficult times. The setting of the peasant wedding is a barn. The walls are unadorned, rough, and dim. Nothing fancy here. This is not a romanticized countryside. It's a working building that was transformed into a dining hall for a special day. In Bruegel's time, barns were the largest spaces available to ordinary people, and a wedding feast was one of the only occasions when such a space would be filled to capacity. The bride sits beneath a green curtain, a traditional symbol of fertility. Her expression is calm, almost expressionless. She does not move. That's because peasant brides were expected to sit still as a symbol of modesty and virtue. Her groom is mysteriously absent. Some suggest he is the man pouring beer on the left. Others believe Bruegel simply omitted him. After all, weddings were communal events, not romantic ones. At the time, a marriage was a bond between families, not individuals. And the crowd, not the couple, is the true subject of this painting. This is a portrait of a community, a group of people who survive and celebrate together, even when food is limited and times are hard. This brings us to the feast itself. Bowls of porridge are carried on a wooden door taken off its hinges because that's all they had to transport them. Porridge was an everyday food. This shows that even at the wedding, peasants rarely ate luxuriously. The child licking his fingers is hungry, eager, and impatient. The child at the table is equally desperate for a taste. Hunger sits next to celebration, just as it did in real life. Bruegel's peasants are not caricatures though. Earlier artists had mocked peasants as clumsy, stupid, or drunk. Bruegel does something different. He paints them with empathy. Each figure is an individual, not a stereotype. And each gesture reveals a truth about life in the countryside. In the foreground, a bagpiper plays while another briefly pauses. Bruegel positioned them close to us, so it becomes clear that chatter and laughter are accompanied by music. Music in Bruegel's work often symbolizes excess or distraction, but here it also symbolizes resilience, the ability to find joy even in poverty. To the right, a monk and a magistrate drink side by side. Their shared appetite reveals the blurred boundaries between church and state. The dice beneath the magistrate's seat might symbolize corruption, a sign that church and state often abuse their powers. And then we come to one of the painting's strangest mysteries. Beneath the table, between the two servers, is a solitary foot that appears to belong to no one. For centuries, viewers have debated its meaning. Is it simply the foot of the man carrying the door, hidden behind it? Is it a mistake, which would have been rare but possible? Or did Bruegel intentionally insert it, a visual puzzle for attentive viewers? Bruegel's son, a man who often copied his father's work, left out this foot in his own version of the Peasant wedding, adding fuel to the mystery. A more recent analysis uncovered that the so-called third foot probably belongs to the man who is transferring the plates to the table. He simply sits in a position we don't expect. Regardless of the rather simple explanation, Bruegel's paintings challenge us to pay attention. He was inspired by Bosch's imaginative worldview, but often without the monsters or miracles. The Peasant wedding is a predecessor of the genre painting, an everyday scene that became highly popular during the Dutch Golden Age. But it is more than that. It is a document of its time, a world of feast and famine, laughter and struggle. And with each figure, Bruegel shows us not idealized beauty, but lived experience. He painted the dignity of people who were rarely dignified, and the resilience of people who survived by celebrating whenever they could. To conclude, I want to return to the fact that we are missing a groom here. That seems weird for a wedding paint, but perhaps it isn't. Scholars have pointed to subtle clues, a gesture here, a posture there, but the painting refuses to reveal him. Instead, Bruegel scatters the possibility of the groom across multiple figures. But Bruegel was too deliberate an artist for this to be carelessness. One of two theories seems most plausible to me personally. Either he is one of the men serving, such as the man pouring beer or the man delivering the plates to the table. This was a custom at the time, as the man was in charge of ensuring everybody was well served. Or the groom was omitted for a particular reason. Bruegel was known for depicting proverbs, and a popular Flemish proverb at the time said, "It is a poor man who is not able to be at his own wedding." Regardless of which theory is correct, the Peasant wedding provides a glimpse into the past and remains one of Bruegel's many thought-provoking masterpieces.